Welcome learners in our next session. I am Madhulika, faculty, School of Management Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Students, we all know that data are always raw if it is not used for any object or for any purpose. But if it is used for any object or any purpose, it will help us a lot. Basically, data are two types: primary data and secondary data. Primary data are those data which are collected by researcher himself for his object or his purpose. But secondary data are those data which are collected by somebody else and can be used by anybody or any institution. But we have to mention the sources from where we have to collect these data. So it's a game of numerical and number of. So in this session we are going to discuss the topic data processing. For that we have very prominent resource person, or we have very eminent resource person, Dr. Subodh Kesarwani. Dr. Kesarwani is a faculty member in School of Management Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University. His area of interest is IT sector, ERP and e-commerce. He has written one book in ERP system. He has vast knowledge in customer relationship management and marketing area as well as statistics. Now I would request to Dr. Subodh, please start with your presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Madhulika. Thank you very much for taking interest in me. In fact, the topic which we are going to discuss today is data processing. You know, today's scenario is a very contemporary one where we have a lot of play about computers, information technology, and rather we can say today's scenario is more talking about the databases and data storage. Data mining, data warehousing is a very upcoming and contemporary topics right now. So keeping in mind this interest, data processing is a very important term right now, and once we talk about the data information, what you have talked about is going to play a very important role, and what you have said about this data is a raw, and once we convert this raw into for our particular purposes, for some specific purposes, it takes a shape of information. Yes, बताइए. Hello. Anyway, hello, please बताइए.
Disconnect हो गया.
Okay, anyway, somebody is trying to interact with us, and definitely we will be in touch with him. There is some problem from the technology end, that's why the problem is there, but we will carry on with our discussion, and we appreciate from the learners that if there could be any queries from their end, they can call on our toll-free number which can be displayed on the computer screen, and they can be in touch with us whatever the problems they have. So what I am talking about, the data processing, this is part of the course AOM1, Office Organization and Management. Into it, this is in the block 3, unit 12, and we are here to discuss about the data processing. But before going into the depth of this data processing, I would like to throw some information on the data and information, and then we will talk about the data processing other aspects. So if we talk about the data processing, I hope everybody knows in computers about this garbage in, garbage out philosophy. What is basically the garbage in, garbage out philosophy? Garbage in, garbage out philosophy talks about that what data we can put to extract the informations, same number of data we are going, same number of information we are going to get. So if you have put the right information in the computers, accordingly you will get the appropriate information in that manner. So garbage in, garbage out talks about that. So if you are talking about the computers are used to find, store, process and share data information, the World Wide Web, www, websites, portals, URLs are the examples of vast storage of information which can be searched. So there is a very famous quotation quoted by Alvin Toffler, in which where he had talked about that you can use all the data you can get, but you still have to distrust it and use your own intelligence and judgment. So what Dr. Madhalika was talking about, that data is basically a raw and information is a finished product. So whatever the raw informations we have, we try to convert it into information and make it useful for our purposes. The best example is the unit writing. What we used to do in our IGNOU, we are more into the self-instruction materials. We used to develop materials for our learners. So
Sorry
if we
for interruption, Dr. Kesavani.
Yes.
You mean that we put the raw data in our computer or any technology, and we will get in our conclusion or
in our own format. No, it's like that.
Format.
You see, basically, if you go through data have got a various shape. It's of different kind. It's now we have to see how we are going to use it. What you talked about, the primary data and secondary data, we will definitely talk about that, because this comes under the head classification of data. You know, once we talk about the classification of data, it is basically of three types. Data classified on the basis of nature, which is quantitative, non-quantitative, financial, non-financial, on the basis of source, internal, external, on the basis of origin, what you have talked about, primary data and secondary data. So we will discuss all these things, but the very important point about the data is that what I was talking about, that there is a role of technology. If you are putting a flavor of technology into it, this is going to make your work somewhat smoother. It's going to smoothen your work. But ultimately, what I was talking about, the garbage in, garbage out philosophy, you have to put the data. If I am going to develop a course on computers, I need a data which can relate it to hardware, which can relate it to software. I don't put the data of political science or social science. You're getting my point?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so garbage in, garbage out talks about that aspects where you're going to put the data, what you need actually.
Relevant data according to
Yes,
your purpose.
if I am going to develop a course for our learners which could be related to office organization and management, I will talk more about the office automation, office aspects and other things, because my expectation from this data is that I should get the related information, get the information related to offices. So in that case, I am going to put the office organizations, what is office organizations, what are the ingredients of the offices, how we are going to automate the offices, what are the different aspects. So these things we are going to put it. So ultimately, ultimate aspect is that what way you are going to put the data. This is a very important aspect, because what I have talked about, that if we are going to develop a unit for our learners, in that case, say I am developing a course on computers, I am going to accumulate the informations related to computers, hardware, softwares, application softwares, and put all that and do some research, and then we can make it in a tabulated form and the diagrammatic form, graphical form. This we can discuss one by one.
So
now coming
all these are come in data processing.
Yes, this comes under data processing, but before going into the details of this data processing, we will have a knowledge about data informations, their bifurcations, because sometimes we can misjudge what is data, what is informations, and what time we have to see, and what time we have to go for the primary data, secondary data, collection of primary data, presentation of data. All this we can discuss one by one. So today we are going to discuss more about the meaning of data, meaning of information, identify the main difference between data and information, classification of data, data life cycle, data collection methods, presentation of data, and many other things which can talk more about the data and information. So if you see what you have talked about, this data is raw facts, information is meaningful, useful output, data versus information. If we see, data is unedited stimuli, business transactions, sale payment, information is processed. Like if we take example, the very good example is with us, because everybody is using computer right now, and we have got application software known as PowerPoint or say Microsoft Excel. What this spreadsheet supposed to do? In the spreadsheets we have got n number of rows, n number of columns. We put the details into it, and after some time that can be converted into bar chart, pie chart, another chart which can be more presentable. So what is this? We put the data, we get the information. So data is put in that spreadsheet in rows and columns, and later on it can be converted into information in the form of bar chart, pie chart, and line chart, scattered diagrams, and what we use in the statistics. So,
and I think it can be very helpful to calculate very difficult and very complicated
yes. If you
problems.
see the working of the chartered accountants, financial experts, they put n number of numerous data in all these spreadsheets, and later on going for the manual calculations, automatically it can calculate. So it's on your fingertips. Ultimately things can move in a very systematic manner with the help of these tools. So data, data is raw and information is a finished thing. And other aspect is that, what the other example is that about the PowerPoint. What we say, I am here to present in front of you with the help of PowerPoint. So I have put the data, I have put my informations into it, and in the pictorial format, in the text format, in many other formats, and once it can be put in this PowerPoint presentation, it can take in a shape of a slides. Now it can take in a shape of a clip arts. Now these clips can be presentable to you on your computer screen, on your TV screen. So this is what I have put the data, which was scattered, which was unsystematic. Now with the help of PowerPoint presentation, it had become systematic. So this is one of the aspects, and there are n number of tools with us. Technology is going to play a very important role, and it has facilitated us in a big way. So all this can be possible with the help of technology, no doubt about that, and we will discuss all this. So data refers to a collection of natural phenomena, descriptors, including the results of experience, observations, experiment, or set of premises. This may consist of number, words, or images, particularly as measurements or observations of a set of variables. So the very good example is a unit writing in IGNOU. What we used to do, once we go for writing the unit, we used to explore ourselves. Like say I am going to write anything on office organization management, I will collect the data from different sources, and then I can accumulate it. I can put my research empirical thoughts into it, I can put my expertise into it, and given a shape of a unit which can be very much fruitful to the learners.
So you mean that before collecting the data were raw, and you have to collect in a tabular or in a numerical or a theoretical format, and present in a theoretical or chapter wise.
You see, because
very beautifully.
Why our IGNOU materials are more have got an edge as compared to the other self-instruction materials, because we are more tailor-made, we are more customized. We start with the objectives, introductions, body part, then we have in the footer part, check your progress, activities. So this is become more informative to the students, more informative to the learners. So ultimately this is going to provide information in a better manner. So it's an information. So data is one way, information other thing. We can discuss all these things in a more elaborative manner during our discussion, because we are here to discuss more about and talk about all these aspects. So the term information and knowledge are frequently used for overlapping concepts, because once we are talking about the informations, there is a play of knowledge into it. These three concepts are ambiguously defined in the subject matter literature. So if we talk about the information as a concept bears a diversity of meanings from everyday uses to technical settings. Generally speaking, the concept of information is closely related to notions of constraints, communications, control, data, form, instruction, knowledge, meaning, mental stimulus, pattern, perception and representation. So once we talk about information, it's not that.
So all these items are come under the information.
Yes, exactly, because here what you are doing, you are putting your expertise and making it more customized, tailor-made, because if you have got a data which had been refined, but it is not presentable, it's not useful for the learners, for the people who going to read it. It's useless. It's become a data for them.
Those data are useless for
Yes.
Learners.
Right. If we have developed a material which is very haphazard in manner, which is not in that systematic manner, and students are not grabbing it from, not grasping it from it, so ultimately this is going to not solve the purpose. So if so information should be very systematic, it should be very relevant, it should be up to the mark, and this thing one has to be very cautious while converting while processing the data. So if you see the figure where we have data at the left hand side, information at the right hand side, and we have got a process known as filtering process where data is going to transfer with the help of filtering process and taking a shape of a information. So these things we are doing in the Microsoft Excel spreadsheets and many other spreadsheets, and many other application softwares, because what the software is supposed to do, like if we take an example of a tally or financial accounting softwares, we put the transactions, we put the business transactions into it in the forms of journal entries, what the transactions are supposed to occur on a day basis, what on the basis of cash book, and later on it can be converted into balance sheet and profit loss account with the help of software. So
these are the process to convert the data in a format.
Yes, exactly. Yes, this is the process, because application software is a modus operandi, is a filtering process, and data is what the transactions individual occurred. So what the data is going with the help of filtering process and taking a shape of information, and here then say the data are the transactions, information are the balance sheet, profit loss account, and income and revenue expenditures and many other things. So what are the procedures from data to informations? Data, we have data at one end, information, knowledge at another end, input, process, output. So data can be passed on and processed, taken a shape of information. It can move by this manner: data, input, process, taken a shape of information, and later on it can process output and output to knowledge. So what I am talking about,
Dr. Subodh, you have shown in your slide that information and knowledge both
are synonymous. Sometimes sometimes it is synonymous. Look, why I am talking about why I am saying that information and knowledge both are synonymous, because if the informations which had been gathered from the different datas is not fruitful, to the learners, that is.
So it can be reverse.
No, it's just like that. If we have converted the data into informations, that information should be fruitful to the learners. If the learners are not getting any knowledge from it, it's become useless. It's not a information. So it's incomplete information. Knowledge is something where the data, we have got a data at one corner, information at the middle of it, and knowledge at the end of it.
So whole thing is a process.
It's a process.
It's a system.
Yes, it's a system. If you go through the figure, we have data at one end and knowledge at another end. Now data is there, it can be inputted, then processes,
so
and taken.
One should complete whole process.
Whole
then
process.
We will get full information.
Because what I mean to say here, that information can be only useful if somebody can grasp from it. if you are not able to extract anything from the informations, it's not then our knowledge bank is not enhanced. Our knowledge bank is going to enhance only when we have gained anything from the information. So knowledge is a optimum point where you have got gone through different data, converted into information, and then information can be and from that information you have gathered something. So this has taken a shape of a knowledge. So if you see this transformation data to informations, this is one of the model which I have adopted from the research work done by the experts in that particular area, where we have foundation layer at the bottom, mediation layer at the middle of it, and application layer at the top of it. So this is a very important model which talks about that data and simulation resources are at the bottom level. So obviously it could be there because we are in the process of converting the data into raw data into information. So data and simulation resources, and then value added services, mediation layer which can facilitate and bridge the gap between the foundation layer and application layer, and finally users at workstations. So it's like that. Say I am here to present something today on particular topic. So what I have done, once I have decided that I am going to present on this day with this topic, I have started collecting a data. Now I have started, once I have starting a data, I have put that data in the information manner, and once it can be converted and systematized, then application layer is there, where I am putting a flavor and applying it and using it to impart my knowledge.
So it means one should reach in a conclusion. So he should go through all the process.
Yes.
First layer, then second layer, then
And
third layer.
Third layer. This is one of the layer in general we used to do, because it can inherent build inside our expertise and other things. So what we can do, we can follow these things, but we used to know about that. So a distinction between, if you see the data and information, what I was talking about, that how the data can be converted into bar chart, pie chart, and other chart, because this can very well explain in our slides, because we need to interpret, work out what is information. So bar charts are the way where we can more show the things in a graphical manner and in a more systematic manner. So here we are now again with the data processing is any computer process that converts data into information or knowledge. The processing is usually assumed to be automated, running on a computer. So this is the contemporary approach, where now we are using more help of computer and other aspects. So because data are most useful when well presented and actually informative, data processing systems are often referred to as information systems to emphasize their practicality. Both terms are roughly synonymous, because it's synonymous in that manner. Say I have created a data, say I have got a data with me which is a secondary data for me, because I have taken data from other sources. Now I am using that
data according to your object.
So it's like that. A data which is raw for one may be a finished product for others, and maybe a raw for others. Like say somebody had done research and created informations. Now this information is a data for me. Okay, so it varies. So data is not a perfect. Sometimes data can, so it can be taken a shape of a raw, it can taken a shape of a finished, according to the circumstances, according to the research. So this we can discuss how the primary data and secondary data are useful, and when the primary data can be known as a primary data and for individuals, and later on it can be used as secondary data for others. So it can change according to the situations by situation. So Similar conversion data processing systems typically manipulate raw data into information, and likewise information systems typically take raw data as input to produce information and output. So this is one of the way.
So raw data you should manipulate it according to your object and your purpose, then it will be converted into a process, and that you should reach in any conclusion.
Right. So data can be classified according to any criteria what I was talking about, not only relative importance or frequency of use. For example, data can be broken according to its topical content, file type, operating platform, average file size, megabytes, because say this is a very good example which I am quoting today, because in computers we have got hard drives. Hard drives have got a very good capacity as compared to the pen drives which we used to move from one place to another.
Okay,
So
hard drives
and
has
had
a
got
very
more
good.
capacity,
Okay.
because say
Then pen drive.
pen drives, say pen drive capacity is 1 GB, whereas hard drive capacity is 80 GB or say
Okay.
60 GB. Now uh, uh, what we can do here, we can classify the data according to our need. If we have got a 1 GB space, and we can put the information which can be uh, useful to me for this particular purposes and for the particular time, so accordingly we can bifurcate. So this is the point which had been quoted over here, that data can be broken according to its topical content, file type, operating platform, average file size, megabytes and gigabytes.
What
When
is
it was
megabyte and gigabytes?
uh, basically, you know, in computers we have got a binary and things like 0 and 1, and then we have got bytes, and megabytes are say 100 bytes and megabytes. So
Okay,
these are basically
okay.
the different
Different
nomenclatures which we used to
nomenclatures.
use for storage of data. So
Exactly.
gigabytes, if we talk about the gigabytes have got more capacity as compared to the megabytes.
Megabytes.
So when it was created, when it was last accessed or modified, which person or department last accessed or modified it, and which personnel or department use it the most. A well-planned data classification systems make essential data easy to find. This can be of particular importance in risk management, legal discovery and compliance with government regulations. So once we talk about the data information, it has got a number of use and variety of uses, because we can modify the data according to our need. Like we used to make different directories in our hard drives, like different files. The way we put the files in the physical manner, in our almirah, in our office bookshelves, we used to make different files. In that manner, we used to make these things in our computer also, that data can be stored in this manner. So
Okay,
this
in
is
C drive, in D drive, in
yes.
E
In that
drive.
C drive also we put in the different manner. Like if we have a
We can make a folder,
folder of the
different
songs, we can
folders,
make the folder of the softwares, we can make the folder of the different activities what we
different
supposed to
files.
do on a day-to-day basis. So this is basically the classification of the data. And what I was talking about, the very important point that which I was discussing in the beginning of this presentation, that classification is based on the nature of data. This is very true. One is financial data, non-financial data, classification based on the sources of data, internal data.
Financial data and
I am
non-financial
coming
data
to
means.
I am coming all these things.
Okay.
And since you were talking about in the beginning stage about this primary data and secondary data, so I was throwing on light on this part. But here I am going to discuss all these things on the one-to-one basis. That if you see the classification based on the nature of data, that is financial data. Financial data consists of figures expressed in monetary terms such as rupee, dollar, and many other currencies, yen
Okay.
and pound sterling, euro and others.
Or
So
any other numbers.
yes, profit loss balance sheet. Non-financial data refers to the facts and figures expressed other than monetary units.
Okay, right.
Such
Facts
data,
and figures.
such data may be subdivided into two types, as quantitative or non-quantitative. Again, this had been bifurcated. So once we talk about the numerical data, or rather we can say the quantitative data, measured or identified on a numerical scale. Like numerical data can be analyzed using statistical methods, like we have measure of center tendency, measure of dispersion, skewness, correlations, and now we have got the many other software tools which the learners should aware about that, because we have very good course in our BCom known as ECO 7, which talks more about
Statistics.
statistics, which talks about the elements of statistics, where We have talked more about the measure of center tendency, averages, how the average is going to calculate it, correlations, skewness, measure of
Regression.
dispersion, and what I was talking about the softwares, like we have got very good software tools with us, like SPSS is one software, and many SAS, statistical application software. These are some good softwares where the learners can uh, process the data with the help of statistical tools rather than manually involve into it, because if we are going to calculate the mode, we have to follow certain formulas and then we get the results. But if we have got a software tools with us, this is going to solve our purpose and smoothen the execution what we supposed to do. So numerical data is data measured or identified uh, and displayed using tables, chart, histogram. This we can see once we talk about the presentation of data. We have got scatter diagram, bar chart, pie chart.
All these are covered in quantitative data.
Yes, and other thing is non-quantitative data. Facts are sometimes recorded in form of opinions or preferences expressed by people, or ranks or grade assigned to different objects. These are generally referred to as non-quantitative data. Similarly, opinions about effectiveness of advertisements through different media may be expressed by person as very effective, moderately effective, ineffective, and so on. Like, you know,
These are graded.
these are graded because if you see in our school of management, commerce is one discipline, management is another discipline. In commerce, the student evaluation is done on this quantitative basis. They get the marks, whereas in management the student this performance can be judged on the basis of gradings, like what the IITs, all these National Institute of Technologies, they've got the cumulative grade point average scheme, where they are rather than giving the marks, they used to give the grades, A grade, B grade, A plus, B plus. So, and if you see the credit rating agencies, they used to give ratings to the organizations, and like if we read the newspaper also, the newspaper there is a column for the grading given to the movies, where they used to give the
starring. You
yes,
mean starring?
3 star, 4 star, 5 star. So all these are non-quantitative ratings given. So this is going to give the clear picture and making and put under the category effective, moderately effective, and ineffective. So on the basis of that, people can judge. Falling in, yes. So
in these categories.
Now the very important other aspect is classification based on the sources of data. Facts and figures which are available as a result of activities within an organization. Such data may be collected from books of accounts, payroll, personnel records, inventory records, files and documents of the organizations, or the results of experiments and test of product quality. Example given: company sales records. So this is internal data. Whereas external data consists of data obtained from sources outside the organization. Such data may be available from the records and reports of the Company Law Board, Reserve Bank of India, Union and State Government, United Nations, and other internal organizations. So this is...
So, Dr. Subodh, external data can be used by anybody, but can we use internal data for our purpose, or anybody?
You can use internal data for our purpose, like, but it can be restricted to the individual organizations. Say, so it's my discretion that whether I can float my internal data for the other thing. Like, so if the Reserve Bank of, if I am going to use the internal data from, but it can become external in that manner. If I am using the annual report of Reserve Bank of India, if the Reserve Bank of India is using the same data for their purposes, say Reserve Bank of India is using their 2005 balance sheet for making that for taking the help in their 2007 balance sheet. This is going to this is known as internal data. And if the 2005 balance sheet is used by the Indira Gandhi National Open University, in that case it becomes external data. So
Indira Gandhi National Open University will take permission from Reserve Bank?
Sometimes, because if we are going to, like, it varies from situation to situation. If they have floated that balance sheet into for the public purposes, in that manner it can be used by anyone. You don't have to take purpose. But if we are using by not taking their permission, in that case we have to acknowledge. It's like that we used to say we are the academicians, we are the researcher also, we do some research, and in that research we extract some data from outside. If that data is easily available, or say then we can take the data. If the data we can if we have taken the data from their by taking the permission, in that case we have to acknowledge them. So it's vary from situation to situation. If the data is easily available, then we can use it, we can acknowledge it that we have taken, because acknowledgement is a very important aspect. So, and if we are using, if the Indira Gandhi National Open University is using their past records for their internal uses, then it is known as internal data. If we are using the other different state universities data to know what is going on into the open and distance learning system, then this is known as external data. So it's a very different situation where we should know what is internal one, what is external one. So other important aspect, which is a very important aspect, is classification based on the origin of data. That is primary data, secondary data. Primary data, as I was talking about, information that is developed or gathered by the researchers specifically for the research project, whereas secondary data, previously produced or published matter, are the data which had been already published and I am using it. What I am talking, the best example is that, say I am doing one research on particular area, say on ERP systems, and now I want to know what is the market situation about the implementation of ERP. For that I have developed some questionnaire, survey reports, interview and all other things. So this is something which I have created by my own. So this is the primary data, because I have created now, and whereas to know what is going on in the ERP systems and ERP implementations, because before making this mind that I am going to write something, I am going to make some empirical work on this ERP systems, I have decided I will go for primary data. I have done some research. From where I have done this research? I have done from the past records, from the records which had been done by the other people. So this is a secondary data where I have.
Or suppose whatever you have collected the data, or you are saying that you have done a primary data. Suppose for my object, or I am doing some research work, I will take your data for my object. So it will called as
secondary data. It's a primary data for me, because it's a original work from my end, whereas you are using using that data for your.
I have to mention your your name or source, what from
where you have to proper acknowledge it, that from where you have taken. So this is a secondary data. So if you see the definition of primary data, data never gathered before. This is a very important aspect which one has to follow about this primary data, that data never gathered before. It's a original work which had been done by the individuals itself or by the organization itself. The best advantage is that find data you need to for your purpose. Disadvantage, usually more costly and time consuming than collecting secondary data. If we compare the primary data with the secondary data are more time consuming, because what I was talking about, the preparation of questionnaires, preparations of reports and all, and later on go to the individuals on one-to-one basis and then extract the informations. It's required time, it's required efforts, it's required pain. So, and whereas secondary data can be easily available on
only you have to mention.
Yes, you have to mention source from where you have taken. And so, but sometimes the organization, individuals need primary data to show their presence into the market, that this is a research work, this is a new work which is supposed to enter. What I was talking about now, everybody have talked about the ERP, that how the ERP works, how the ERP is going well into the market, but nobody had talked about the repercussions of ERP, like what the organizations are, what problems organizations are facing while implementing ERP. So this is something which can be new from my end, which is not available anywhere. So now to do and talk about this aspect, I have to collect the informations on individual and one-to-one basis. So this is the primary data now, because it is a work which had not been done by anybody in the past. So sometimes you really required a primary data. You really require to work on the primary data. So primary data is something which had its own presence, whereas secondary data is more resourceful, more useful for the references and further references and future references. So collected after secondary data is collected. So this is a very important aspect. Once you are going for collection of primary data, you should know what is going on in that particular area, and for that you collect some secondary data. So primary data used to be done after some homework had been done while collecting the secondary data. So this is a very important aspect. And other important thing is secondary data. So data gathered by another source, example given: research, study, survey, interview. Like if the state open universities want to know the modus operandi of the different ODL system approaches, they can refer the IGNOU's work on this particular area. So this is something which we have gathered from the IGNOU. So the source is IGNOU. Research study is done by the researchers who are working in the particular area from the IGNOU's end. So secondary data is gathered before primary data. Why? This is a very important question.
Secondary data is gathered before primary data. Why?
This is a very important question which one has to, because say if I am going to do a research on particular area, what I can do, I can gather the informations. I can gather the information done by the people who have done on this particular area. So this is a secondary data which I have referred in the past. So that's why I am saying secondary data is gathered before primary data. You can gather the information what is going on before, because if I am going to talk about the ERP implementations, I have to know what is going on into the ERP. So for that I can learn from the people who have done research on ERP, who have done some work on ERP. So that's why secondary data is gathered before primary data.
Sorry, Dr. Subodh, you have enriches your thoughts through your PowerPoint presentation for us. It's a very provoking and thoughtful presentation for us. I think learner will learn lots from your presentation, and you have very good elaborated primary data and secondary data, and what is the difference between raw data to process data and finished data, and how to compute from computer and different technologies. So I wish if we could have a time, then we will listen more
because
from
you know there are a lot of aspects which had been.
But watch is time is now over. Watch is showing us that time is now over. So thank you so much for thoughtful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.